Are you serious? Are you serious? Wow. Don't miss tonight's live broadcast tonight at 9 p.m. Eastern with Mike from around the world. That's going to be a powerful program. But are you serious? China's incursions, its military against Taiwan, just forcing its own will upon them. That's really, I mean, are you serious? Against Taiwan? That's what it really looks like. China's incursions and its incursions its will against the Taiwan. Look, they're acting like they're going to set up a South Pacific potential blockade on Taiwan. I'm going to tell you all about that here in just a second. But first, let's put a shout out right now for www.noblegoldinvestment.com. That's www.noblegoldinvestment.com. Noble Gold Investments is pleased to let you know that gold was the best investment class for 2022. Real estate, crypto, stocks, and bonds. Gold outperformed them all in 2022. Matter of fact, Noble Gold Investments helped thousands of clients buy real physical gold. And according to longtermtrends.net, gold outperformed the S&P 500, the Dow Jones, and even Bitcoin in 2022. Had you invested in the S&P 500 a year ago, you'd be crying because you'd have lost 20% of your investment. If you'd invested in Bitcoin a year ago, you'd have lost 65%. And if you have put all your 401k or your savings, if you've invested in the Dow Jones in the stock market, you'd have lost 10%. But gold has outperformed them all in 2022, and silver wasn't that far behind. So what are we waiting for here? We need to join the thousands of others by opening a gold IRA or silver IRA with noblegoldinvestment.com. Invest with Noble Gold Investments before the end of the month, and you will bag a free 1/4 of an ounce American Gold Eagle coin. That's 1/4 of an ounce American Gold Eagle coin with every qualified IRA, gold IRA of $50,000 or more. Just pick up the phone and call Colin Plume or one of his associates at 877-646-5347. And you can ask for a no-pressure consultation, only conversation. That's 877-646-5347. I promise you something. You will be glad that you did. I tell you, those guys are really professionals and they care. They really do. All right. Well, so do I. I care too. And that's why I'm bringing this current events to you as it relates to biblical prophecy. We are certainly seeing things happen. Now, Taiwan had to activate its defenses in response to China's incursions. What? It's exactly what I said is exactly right. I mean, they literally, what they're doing is they're paying, they don't care. They really don't care what the world thinks. And apparently, the United States is being very passive. They're not criticizing China, and they're not telling them you need to back off. They're not saying to them, this ain't going to be another Russia-Ukraine situation. I mean, there's nobody standing up. According to reports, the Associated Press says that Taiwan had to scramble fighter jets, put its Navy on alert, and activate missile systems in response to the nearby operations by 34 Chinese military aircraft and 9 warships that are part of Beijing's strategy to unsettle and intimidate the self-governing island nation democracy of Taiwan. Now, this large-scale Chinese deployment came as Beijing increases preparations for a potential blockade or military action against Taiwan that have stirred an increasing concern among military leaders, diplomats, and elected officials in the United States, which are Taiwan's key ally. Now, in a memo last month, U.S. Air Force General Mike Millihan instructed his officers to be prepared for a U.S.-China conflict over Taiwan by the year 2025. As head of the Air Mobility Command, Millihan has a keen understanding of the Chinese military, and his personal remarks echoed calls in the United States for heightened preparations. Taiwan's defense ministry said 20 Chinese aircraft yesterday crossed the central line in the Taiwan Strait that has long been the unofficial buffer zone between China and Taiwan, which separated these two during World War II, right after it in 1949, which was a civil war, by the way. China claims that the island republic as its own territory to be taken by force if necessary, while the vast majority of Taiwanese people are opposed to coming under the control of China's authoritarian Communist Party. Taiwan's armed forces have monitored the situation to respond to these activities, according to their defense ministry, and you can't blame them for that. Matter of fact, that announcement came as NATO's Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg warned that China's growing assertiveness and collaboration with Russia pose a threat not only to Asia but also to Europe. On a visit to Japan yesterday, Stoltenberg said China is increasingly investing in nuclear weapons, long-range missiles, without providing transparency or engaging in arms control talks. Stoltenberg earlier criticized China for bullying its neighbors and threatening Taiwan, and stressed the need for Japan and other democracies to work together with the alliance to defend the international order. Now, NATO needs to make sure we have friends, he said, citing escalating Chinese attempts to coerce neighbors and to threaten Taiwan. It's important to work more closely with our partners in the Indo-Pacific. China's foreign ministry responded by accusing NATO of exceeding its mandate and having played up China's threats. China is always a force for regional and global peace and stability, according to the ministry spokesperson, Mao Ning said in a regular briefing. China is always a force, but I would like to stress that the Asia-Pacific is not a battlefield for geopolitical contest and does not welcome a Cold War mentality and a bloc confrontation, said Mao. It wasn't clear what prompted the Chinese action in Taiwan, although it came just ahead of the visit to Beijing by U.S. Secretary of State Anthony Blinken again. Everywhere Anthony Blinken goes, we are the ones that are blinking. Who would become the highest ranking official to visit China since Joe Biden got elected in 2020? So Anthony Blinken making his way to China. Now, Blinken frequently seeks to flag Taiwan as the most serious issue in the U.S.-China relationship ahead of top-level discussions, leading them to into other discussions of other economic, trade, or political issues where there is more room for meaningful exchanges. China has sent warships, bombers, fighter jets, and support aircraft into Taiwan's airspace near Taiwan on a nearly daily basis. They're doing this now, hoping to wear down the island's limited defense resources and undercut support for pro-independence President Tsai Ing-wen. Chinese fighter jets have also confronted military aircraft from the United States and allied nations over the international airspace in the South China and East China Seas, in which Beijing has described as dangerous and threatening maneuvers. A string of visits in recent months by foreign politicians to Taiwan, including at that time, U.S. House Speaker Nancy Pelosi, and numerous politicians from the European Union, have spurred displays of military might from both sides. And in response to Pelosi's visit in August, China staged war games surrounding the island and fired missiles over top of the island of Taiwan into the Pacific Ocean. China has repeatedly threatened retaliation against countries seeking closer ties with Taiwan, but its attempts at intimidation have sparked a backlash in the popular sentiment in Europe, Japan, the United States, and other nations. Taiwan is set to hold presidential elections next year, in contrast to China's system of total control by President and Party General Secretary Xi Jinping, who has removed term limits to efficiently make him the leader for life. China's efforts to reach out to Taiwan's pro-unification Nationalist Party have largely backfired. And although the Nationalists performed well in local elections last year, the party's pro-Beijing policies have failed to find a resurgence among voters in a national level. Taiwan has responded to China's threats by ordering more defensive weaponry from the United States of America, leveraging its democracy and high-tech economy to strengthen foreign relations and revitalizing its domestic arms industry. Compulsory military service for men is extended from 4 months to 1 year, and public opinion surveys show high levels of support for increased defense spending to counter China's threats. In an interview last month, Taiwan's envoy to the United States said the island had learned important lessons from Russia's war in Ukraine that would help it deter any attack by China or defend itself if it were invaded. Taiwan's de facto ambassador to Washington, Kim Ha-so, said there is new emphasis on preparing the military reservists and civilians for this kind of all-of-a-society fight that Ukrainians are waging against Russia. Everything we're doing now is to prevent the pain and the suffering of the tragedy of Ukraine from being repeated in our scenario, says Taiwan. Ha-so told the Associated Press, so ultimately, we seek to deter the use of military force, but in a worst-case scenario, we understand that we have to be better prepared. So what we're hearing here, guys, is it's not just saber rattling. It's wearing down. It's a tactic of we're not leaving, we're here, we're making our move, we're moving in, our military, air, land, and sea, we're tightening up, which is bringing a serious concern for the people of Ukraine, of Taiwan, because it really is. People, Taiwan wants to just live in peace. They've been independent since 1949, and they don't want to be under communist rule. Can you blame them? They see what happens. They know about the gulags. They know about the human organ removal. They hear about the human rights violations. They saw what happened in Hong Kong. They do not want to be under China, and they don't plan on being. They're willing to fight if they have to preserve themselves. I want to give you a heads up, guys. You can get the webinar tickets. You still get webinar tickets for Concerned. You can go to my website at paulbegleyprophecy.com if you want to get the tickets that way. Or you can just pick up the phone and call the main office at 765-414-2230. That's 765-414-2230. It's very important because this is a webinar that talks about the New World Order and the global sustainability of the United Nations Agenda 2030. We look deep into the World Economic Forum and CERN. So it's a powerful webinar, and you can still get the tickets for it right now. Also, you can get the 7 DVD set of the webinar we did in December called Deep Impact. That one is available right now. We'll ship those to you right now. Everyone needs them for their library to stay on top of everything that's going on. You really do. So I want you to keep that in consideration. Now, I've got some really powerful information I'm going to share with you tonight with Mike from around the world. That is, some of it is eerie, and it has to do with some submarines. And I want you to know that this information I'm not taking lightly. It's just, things are heating up. Let me say that. I'm sure Mike is going to be able to give us some info on this. And also, I just did a Patreon. Guys, where I was interviewed a couple days ago by Eric Gajewski, who has the largest Catholic podcast in the world. He talks about all the current world events and everything that's going on. And his podcast is the largest Catholic podcast in the world. He's up to speed on what's going on globally. He don't like some of the things going on in the Vatican for sure, and he doesn't care to say it. He's very adamant that we have to watch this World Economic Forum. And so we had a very frank discussion. It's on, I can't play it here because of the discussion, how frank it was. But he interviewed me, and I have that interview on my Patreon channel, in which, guys, seriously, if you everybody who's already a member of Patreon, just go there. I think it's about 24 minutes or something like that. It's called Gog and Magog, Corruption, the New World Order, and these end times. But we talk about 9 or 10 different subjects that we get into here. And he interviews me. It is a powerful interview. And so I just posted it on my Patreon channel. So we've got some time before Mike from the World comes on tonight at 9 p.m. So if you want to go and really get some powerful information, you want to do that. It's at Patreon, exclusive interview there. I was interviewed by Eric Gajewski, the largest Catholic podcast in the world. And we talked about several end-time subjects, including Gog and Magog, corruption, New World Order, and the end times, and really a whole lot more than that. So you really want to check this out. It's on my Patreon channel. If you're not a member of my Patreon channel, it's real easy to become one. Just go to Patreon and sign up. Real easy. You just subscribe and donate whatever it is you want to give a month. And some people, average is $5. Most people get $5, but some give more because they know they're helping share the gospel of Jesus Christ. Some give less. Whatever it is you want to give, but be sure you become a Patreon supporter and not miss this vital information that we post over there at Patreon. This one is critical. So check that out, okay? That's at Patreon. Tonight will be Mike from around the world. It's going to be a powerful broadcast, no doubt about that. I'm telling you right now, it will be powerful. Don't miss it. And it starts at 9 p.m. Eastern. We're going to be touching some very, very hot subjects, very critical subjects that Mike's going to drop some bombs tonight. So I want you to be ready for this. So we'll talk about that a little bit later. I'll be back with some more current world events and how they relate to biblical prophecy. Go check out the Patreon channel, and I'll be back in a little bit with more on the coming apocalypse. Here's a song. Lexi Begley from my album Harmonize and Prophesy. The song is Epiphany. I'll be back with more current world events and how they relate to biblical prophecy. More things are happening right now, so I'll be back in just a few minutes with more. Don't forget tonight with Mike from around the world at 9 p.m. Eastern. He will be very prophetic, let's say that tonight, and revealing, that's for sure.